Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, you know her as Pac-12 champion, the one and only 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber. A man who's made a collage as if he's in a first grade art project right now of all the different clubs, not all of the clubs, but most of the clubs that our next guest right here, who's going to be our guest panelist today, has participated with. Guys, you know him, you love him. This is a big treat for me. This is one of the guys I looked up to when I was a younger player. The one and only Marcus Hahnemann is joining us on Inside the 18. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me.
We're excited about this, man. Actually, it's really funny. I had a guy who's been playing in MLS, and now he's on loan with Indy 11, and he sends out this message, and he's like, Marcus is coming on the show. He's like, oh man, he's like, I've got a chiropractic appointment at the same time, but can you let him know that when I was growing up, he was my goalkeeping hero. At one U.S. men's national team camp in New Jersey, he signed a photo for me, and still to this day, I have that photo on my bedroom wall back in New Jersey. He's a legend.
Oh, that is.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I'm sure you get things like that all the time from people, but it's always so funny. I mean, I know Saskia, we've had this happen even with yourself, obviously on the show when some of the, goalkeepers who are playing at the professional level now have been like, I met you when I was 11 and stuff like that. And, I mean, you just honestly just don't know like the kind of impression that you're going to make on kids. It's really cool.
No, for sure. That's why you always have to keep it in check, be humble.
Yeah.
And Marcus, I'm going to ask him a question, Marcus. I just started working with Steve Cherundolo. And do you have any stories for me? Anything that I can mention to him tomorrow?
I think I was his roommate. Where were we? We were in France, maybe, or something like that. And then the last night, we always usually go out and do a couple of crazy things. And it was a pretty late night. And we came back to the hotel room. I sat down and passed out, woke up in the morning, and I had a giant chew in my mouth still. Slept all night with the chew in my mouth. But yeah, that was a long time ago.
Dude,
but Steve usually was the instigator with most things.
By the way, Omar,
he's a funny guy,
man.
I
love the fact that you've been trying to keep this secret, and then you just drop a bomb. Like, I was working with Steve Cherundolo.
I know.
At this point, people will probably figure it out, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's two teams in LA. It's pretty easy to figure that out. I guess obviously there sounds like there's going to be an announcement coming soon, so we'll discuss that. But before we kind of get into Omar's quest to become the greatest goalkeeper coach in all of the world, as he thought he was when he first started coaching college, Marcus, for some people out there who might kind of not be familiar with kind of your journey, I think it's really cool, honestly, for a lot of young goalkeepers to hear this. Why don't you tell them a little bit about how the fact that you started out at Div 2 and then how you ended up in the Prem?
Well, I almost didn't even start off at Division 2. I took my ASVABs to go in the Marine Corps when I was 18. The only reason why I didn't go do it was because I had to be 19 to get into flight school. And so next thing you know, they're like, well, what other options do you have? And I go, well, I've been talking to Cliff McGrath at SPU. And so I ended up going there. So it turns out it was a pretty good choice. I wish I could say I never had a real job, but I've had a real job and tried that. That was pretty fun. I had a really good time over to my buddy. And it wasn't, I kind of fell into that kind of because I had a buddy who was in a gaming company and needed some servers. And I go, well, you're not doing anything till you talk to my buddies who sell that stuff, right? That's how it all happened. And but yeah, I was going to go fly helicopters. That was my goal. And next thing you know, we were playing in the A League. There was no MLS, and Paul Barron, who was my goalie coach, who's kind of was the main influence on, you think on, well, I had lots of influences obviously on my career, but he would come over and work at Northwest Soccer Camp every summer. And so during the off season, during the A League was a short season, and even the old MLS was a lot shorter. I would go over and stay with him and end up, sleeping on his sofa, training with Aston Villa. And that's how I ended up getting my first chance. He introduced me to an agent over there, came over the next year, and, kept doing that. And eventually Fulham came to watch me play. I was playing for Colorado, and Paul Stretford, who's Rooney's agent, called me up and goes, "Hey," he goes, I got some guys coming out. Don't tell anybody that you're coming to watch you play, but they're going to go watch you play New York Red Bulls. So, well, luckily we had someone sent off in the first 10 minutes. So I was super busy. We still won the game. We sneaked one at the end, super busy. And next thing you know, I was on a flight in a week, and which my wife still makes fun of me. And because, all of a sudden I thought something was going to happen at the end of the year going to Fulham. And next thing you know, they're like, no, we need you here. Season starts Monday, or preseason starts Monday. You're gone. And, hop on a flight, make my wife move everything back to Seattle. And we're still dealing with those boxes today. We just moved again, and then as you're pulling boxes out, you're like, when is this from? And you're like, oh my gosh, these are old Diodora shoes I had back. And I started looking at them like, what are you doing? I'd practiced last couple of nights, and I wore these old, flat Diodora shoes that I think I wore a pair to my wedding as well. And but it's just, funny stories. You go through these boxes. It's just a giant box of memories. Which is pretty cool. But yeah, just lucky with the timing of everything that's ever happened to me, just the need. And then, even like going to Fulham, all of a sudden, no matter what I did in training, I wasn't going to play, because Mike Taylor was, I think I was a better goalie than him. My distribution was way better, all these different things, but the team kept winning. So it's like, you're not going to play. You played a couple of cup games, and then you're not really right because you're not playing all the time. And, it was just all these different things kind of felt, like it looked like they were obstacles in my way. And we get promoted to the Premier League. And then I'm like, oh, I'm one red card away from playing in the Premier League. And I'm sitting home watching Sky Sports News and in Seattle, sitting on I think my parents' house. And then I see Fulham sign Edwin van der Sar. I'm like, oh, great, here we go, right?
Oh my gosh, that's Edwin van der Sar, the bane of all American goalkeepers' existence.
You're like, well, the best probably, and I think he's one of the top, 3 goalkeepers of all time, I think, still, and probably will be forever. He was amazing. And but that enabled me to go on loan, and I went on loan to Rochdale for a month and had a great month. That was League 2. And then and I was somewhat hesitant about doing that because I felt like, I shouldn't drop down to leagues, but it was still a pro league, and it mattered to everybody there. And at the time I'd just been playing reserve team games, and so a chance to go play, and it was in Manchester, and I showed up on a Friday night, didn't know anybody, because it's League 2, you don't know anybody on the team, right? And meeting everybody in the locker room on a Saturday morning. And I'm like, who's the back 4? I just wanted to figure out who the back 4 was and who was going to be in front of me. I didn't even bother learning anyone else's names. That's how quick it happened. And it was just an awesome experience, which led to then me going to Reading on loan, and then signing with them. And then kind of one of the really cool stories about Reading is they came to watch me play, and I was supposed to be playing in a reserve team game. And so they're like 3 different coaches showed up, and they heard I played really well at Rochdale, but came to watch me play. Well, I had a phone call by Jerry Payton, who was the goalie coach at Fulham at the time. And he goes, hey, Mike Taylor, because Edwin was playing all the games, Mike Taylor wanted to play in the reserve team game because he had a Northern Ireland game that weekend. And I'm like, oh, great, no problem. I go, yeah, that sounds great. I go, well, I'll go warm him up. And he goes, no, you don't have to do that. I mean, they'd never send, an older player to go be a backup for a reserve team game, right? And I'm like, no, I'll go do it, because I know Mike's really particular about his warm-ups. And if one of the kids is going, and now I know Jerry Payton's not going, he's going to have a disaster. And I want him ready for the Northern Ireland game. So I'll go do it. Well, unbeknownst to me, the Reading team shows up. So now they show up and they're, they get the team sheet. I'm not playing, but they're like, but he's on the bench. They're like, what? This doesn't make sense. And then I'm out there warming up Mike. They see me, I'm putting cones up, doing everything that he likes. And they're like, what is going on? Like, why is he doing this? And they're watching my warm up, Mike Taylor. And then, I went in goal for a little bit while he went in to go change. And so I got a couple of shots, and then I had all the balls that were now like in the net or that area. And one of the kids started to put him in the bag. I go, no, take the bag, go to the halfway line, and I'll kick him to you. So I side volley every ball to him, right? He takes the ball, throws them in the bag, right? Each one. And Pardue, Kevin Dillon, Wally Downs were the coaches at the time, and Nick Hammond, who was the goalie coach. I think they all came, and they're like, that'll do, let's go. So they signed me on my warm-up of Mike Taylor.
What?
That's amazing.
Dude, that's one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. Like, so, that's like something you put in a movie and people are like, well, this is fantasy. This would never happen. Now, Omar, aren't you happy that you do such great warm-ups? Isn't that the whole reason that you did it?
I want to hear the rest of this. Let's see what else happened.
I sat the whole game. That was
yeah, I'm gonna make sure I don't do good warm-ups because I'm too old to get a phone call to play for anybody right now.
So my first practice with Reading, we're training, and they saw my kicking and stuff like that, and they goes, okay, we're gonna kick to the right side to Butler. This is how we're gonna set the kick, right? And like, okay, I go, you want it from the ground or my hands? And he goes, let's go from the ground first. Or for my hands first, I think. And so I go side volley it, and then Alan Pardue standing, 10 yards over the halfway line, or 5 yards, and he's like, got his hand up. Okay, can you hit me? And I blast over his head about 10 yards, and I go, I can take a bit off if you want, and that was how that went. So when I caught the ball, I kicked it as far as I could every time, pretty much.
I mean, dude, these stories are incredible, man. I mean, honestly, Marcus, like the cool thing about this, especially, is that you were talking about the fact that you had I think, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, but like having that decency of, as the goalkeeper union, you're like, no, if a kid goes over there, he's not going to get the right warm up. You cared more about the goalkeeper. You weren't thinking about your own needs at the time. You were thinking about him. And because of that, the universe basically provided, in my opinion.
Well, and everything happens for a reason, right? And I mean, that goalkeeper union definitely matters to me, and it's difficult, right? It's a difficult position to play because you either play or you don't play. And getting your shot, I definitely think you have to earn that spot. And and I got a lot of young goalies, and they're like, oh, well, how come I should be on that team? And you're like, well, you need to earn that. Every day you need to earn it in training. And I go, and I know the other coach likes the other goalie, but if you're better than him, he doesn't want to lose games. Like, people still think that there's that much bias, right? And, certain things happen in my career where, they're definitely, I got let down by a coach because, they ended up giving a spot to somebody else and there wasn't that competition, right? You definitely, there's always little things like that happen, but it is what it is, right? And, I mean, I played for 20 years. I played at, a higher level than I ever thought was even imaginable. And it's pretty awesome. And now, being able to train, goalies, I train, the Crossfire goalies a couple days a week up in Washington. It is awesome. The only reason why I do it is because I have boys and girls who love coming out to my practices, and they make it so fun. And, I had to talk to a parent the other night, and they were like, trying to figure out the next year, the girl's going to be on a combined team, and they're trying to figure out, where she sits. And I go, well, I hope she stays because I love her at practice, right? She's one of the reasons that I enjoy going there, because she's always laughing and, and smiling, and she works hard, and, I think she definitely has potential. And, and there's one of those kids right now who's a junior, who's just kind of in this funky spot that because of COVID and all these different things, they don't have a school lined up, and you feel pretty bad for these kids because it's, when are they going to, if things had been different, they would have had a lot more exposure, and they would have had for sure a spot, already lined up. So definitely going to be some question marks up in the air where they go, and if they can find a good spot for them.
Joe, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I know Saskia and Omar, I know both of you have also had that similar experience, in the past year or so, working with different goalkeepers. And it has been, a challenge in regards to the youth game. Omar, I know you've been dealing with this just in the simple factors, like especially working with a lot of high school kids that are looking for a school, and they haven't really been able to get a lot of game tape this past year, because everyone's kind of been in a different situation in regards to who they can play with and when they can play and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to, as best as I can, provide as much film for them as I see fit. And when we do sessions, I film everything, so at least they have something on camera to show coaches. And again, we talk about game-like scenarios, so I do as much as I can where you could see in the film what are the decisions and what do they decide to do in certain moments. So hopefully at that point they can at least walk away from this time period without, at least they have something tangible that they can offer coaches. So but it is difficult. I definitely find kids who reach out and say, hey, do you know anywhere I can play? I'm going to be a freshman this year. Do I go to a JC? What do I do? So it is definitely a tough situation, but I'm just hoping everything goes back to normal pretty soon.
And it seems to be moving in that direction. I mean, I want to kind of transition over into this thing here, because Marcus, you and Saskia obviously both played. Omar and I have no leg to stand on in this one. Like sitting on benches in the USL is not even close to what you two did. And Saskia, we've actually had this conversation, with you before in the past in regards to when you've been a world-class player like yourself or Marcus and played at the highest level. How many players who've been at your level have had difficulty transitioning into working into the grassroots level?
I think the transitions, there's so much that goes into it, and it's not just oh, okay, I'm going to stop playing, I'm going to go coach. And first of all, not everybody makes a great goalkeeper coach. Sorry. You can be a great player, but that doesn't mean that you have the ability to kind of verbalize and really transition into that. And after playing for so long and at such a high level, I had to take a pause. Like, I took a 15-year pause. Am I happy I'm back? Absolutely. But I think that, that transition is hard across the board, and you have to make sure you're doing it when you're absolutely ready to do it, and not just because it's the thing to do and you don't know what else to do. Figure it out, but do it right.
Yeah. Marcus, do you feel like that means the fact, and by the way, step in anytime you want. Do you feel like the fact that you have these extracurriculars going on, and I don't mean them in a derogatory way, extracurriculars, but they are away from the game, I mean, you even joked about it, you're like, what topic should we talk about? You're like, we can do, fly fishing, we can do motorcycles, we can do planes, helicopters, all that sort of thing. Do you think that allows you the fact to have that freedom to stay involved in the game and not feel restricted by, your identity being, oh, I'm Marcus Hahnemann, the former Premier League men's national team goalkeeper?
Well, one is, it kind of comes down to ego a little bit, but I remember we were doing, before the South Africa World Cup, we had Tim, Brad Guzan and myself, and we were doing an interview with Grant Wall, and he's like, why do we have, at the time we were all playing in England, and I think Casey was still playing there. Was he still? Maybe he wasn't, but we had, a lot of American goalies over there. And he asked, what makes a good, what do you need to be a world-class goalie? And Tim Howard's like, oh, you have to be a great athlete. And my response was bullshit. I go, because I'm not a great athlete, right? And I guess I have some pictures where, I'm about it looks like I'm about 4 feet off the ground at Tottenham, coming for a cross with Crouch there. But, it wasn't one of those things that I ever relied on my quickness or my athletic ability, right? I had good size, but it was my positioning. And then, when I kind of retired, then came back home, and the Sounders were like, hey, you want to come back? And I'm like, well, I haven't played for 6 months. Let me go train with Tommy, the goalie coach, and we'll see how it goes. And Chris Henderson, who I played with in Colorado, he was, the director of football, and now he's moved down to Florida to do that, and all these different things. And he goes, man, it's just really hard to score on you. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you're always standing in the right spot. And I'm like, don't tell anyone my secret, please. Right. So everyone has a different way of doing it, right? And that's always been a really big thing with me. And we talked about the goalkeeper union earlier. I had a goalie, Jamie Young, who was Australian, who came to Reading as a 15 or 16-year-old. You know, they brought him over and to go in the youth system. Well, the problem with Jamie was he never grew. So now he's a super small 6-footer, right? You know, he grew, he was that size when he was, 15, 16 and never grew again. And he was like, oh, they're telling me I'm too small. And I go, well, why? And he goes, well, on crosses. And I go, well, then you have to make crosses your strength. He goes, you jump higher than I do. Mm-hmm. Like if your timing's good, right? Then, and you come and catch all the crosses, right? Well, guess what? After you keep putting your team on counterattack after counterattack, every time you come catch a cross, eventually the coach will tell their team to stop hitting it on top of you. And at that stage, the game becomes easy again, because now you're not forced to make decisions. But if they think, I don't know if you guys probably remember Gomez, right? Who played for Tottenham. And he, he's always, all this theatrics. And every time there was anybody touching him on a corner kick, he started freaking out. Well, guess what happens? Everybody goes to touch him every time, right? And when we played him, and he was a good goalie, but every time we played him, they're like, hit everything on top of him. And then everybody was standing on him, right? Because he hated it. Well, if you just look comfortable and come catch the cross, they'd go, well, stop hitting it to the goalie. We only did that because he looks uncomfortable. And then the game becomes difficult because he has to make a decision, which the decisions are the hard part of what we do. It's everything else is easy. A shot, that's easy. It's going to my left, I just dive. And if I can get it, I get it. That's it, right? There's no complexity to that. A cross coming in with bodies in the way, that is something that you can ask your goalie to try to be confident, but it is impossible to get that until they start catching a whole bunch of crosses and learning how to do it and get their timing right, their jumping, all those different things. Well, Jamie Young is still playing in Australia, and because his timing became really well. And now he's 37, 38 years old, where at Reading, they were like, he's too small. He's not going to go anywhere. And then he started playing non-league. And next thing you know, he's still playing professionally. And he was goalie of the year down in Australia in the league he's playing in, right? Those type of things for somebody who was told he's too small. And, because he does it a little bit differently than everyone else, it's, that's what you have to figure out. And when I coach my kids, there's like, okay, there's some technique things we do, and, all these little different steps. And, I teach all my kids, when they catch the ball, when they to extend their bottom arm when they dive. And they're like, but that doesn't make sense. And I go, well, if you watch some of the best goalies in the world, they do that. But what it teaches you is it teaches you to extend your dive, to go past the ball. It tells everybody, well, it teaches you how to keep your body in line. And because when I learned, I used to catch the ball and pin the ball. Well, every time I pin the ball, my legs would come around. And then you get in that issue where all of a sudden that ball's low in the corner, and you're so used to landing with your arms in tight that it's hard to really extend your arm completely into the corner and finish like that. And well, so, those type of things where a lot of goalie coaches don't like doing that. And because they're like, well, now my goalie's not catching stuff, one of the other goalie coaches. And I go, they're still allowed to catch it. And, we use it as a training thing. And people are like, well, I don't like it. And I go, well, we're doing it in training when we're doing our side to sides and our diving and different things. And then in the game, if you catch the ball and you swing your feet all the way around, you think I'm going to run out there, slap you in the head and go, you didn't do it right? No, it doesn't matter, right? But for training, it's teaching you the proper technique to finish a save and do all these things and to get used to landing with your arm extended. And, those type of little things that no one taught me, I kind of just did after I was about 35 years old. And you're like, well, we should maybe be teaching these kids this. Now, that wasn't my idea. That was Paul Barron's idea. And we're at the soccer camp. And, at a soccer camp, you have this level from, a kid who's got his shin guards outside of his socks to really, ECNL kids. And he goes, yeah, we're going to teach kids this. And I was looking at him like, are you kidding me? Like, this isn't going to work. Well, after 2 days, you had the kid who has his socks underneath the shin guards. he's going full stretch into the corner, saving a ball. And my mind was blown. I'm like, how does that kid do that? He's got his arm extended, saving that shot. That would, that's a world-class save. But of a kid this is his first goalkeeper coaching he ever had after 3 days. And you're like, there might be something to this. So most of my goalies do it now, right? But it's never at we're going to do this at all costs, right? And then I've got a range of goalies who are, 5'0" to 6'3" that I coach. Well, we have to teach positioning a little bit different. I'm like, well, come out. I go, well, do I keep scoring over the top of you? They're like, yeah. And I go, then move back. Right. If
I think, sorry, Marcus. I just want to say, just like, one of the things that I just love about what you just said right there is just, the practicality. And because this is something that we've been discussing on the show over and over again between, Omar, Saskia, and myself, is that is it effective? I mean, we just even literally did an episode, with Chris Sharp from Colorado Rapids and William Yarbrough on Monday about being effective, and Omar, I know that this is something that actually you've really been trying to work on with young goalkeeper coaches when you talk to them, is like, make sure that what you're teaching is effective for that goalkeeper.
Yeah. And the only way I can verbalize that with confidence is that I was that goalkeeper coach who just said, hey, this is how it's going to be done. We're going to do it my way. And that's it. And, I come from a Hispanic background, and early on my uncle played in Mexico. So he was my first goalkeeper coach, and I learned from him. I mean, I had to learn the block save. I learned extending. We're flying over ropes and stuff. And then that's how I was taught. Then I got to the Galaxy, and our goalkeeper coach was very, American, but also a lot of English as well. So we were being taught proper technique, proper distribution. He was teaching us all these different things. And I even tell a story. He always says, Omar, how many American goalkeepers in the Premier League? I said a few. And he's like, how many Mexican goalkeepers in the Premier League? And I would say none. He's like, then you tell me which way is the proper way. So he ingrained that in my head, that like the way you're supposed to do it is the way the Americans do it, the way we're taught. And then I got to coaching, and I was like, this is how it's going to be done. We're only going to do it this way. And then again, I got some pushback, and that's when I realized, I'm like, damn, I'm hindering people from reaching their fullest potential, because now when Marcus, you're talking about extending. If I'm teaching them don't extend, then in their head, instinctually, they're not going to play off instinct anymore. They're going to have that mental block, and they're always going to, I guess, second guess themselves. And as a goalkeeper, like you said, those minor decisions, those minute seconds, those that means the world. So I think that's when I realized that, you know what, goalkeeping needs to be efficient, and it needs to get the job done. And if you get the job done, yes, there are fundamental principles. Like Saskia always says, there are certain things that you have to be good at. But at the end of the day, if you bring your own flair to the game, you bring your own style, and you get the job done, who am I to say any different?
Yeah. And one thing, Saskia, in regards to the fact that, and very similar to Marcus, of the fact that you've been there, the fact that you've seen it all, I think allows somebody like yourself or Marcus to kind of bring something a little bit different to the table than maybe somebody that's just coaching on concept. You've seen what's worked and what hasn't worked. Not saying that people that haven't played at the highest level can't work with youth, can't work with elite youth or whatever, but you do bring something special to the table in that regard.
Well, I mean, to go back on what Marcus is talking about, I'm going to get all book on you guys. It's actually Newton's theory. So the bottom line is that you don't try to stop a velocity by a solid wall, because the velocity of whatever's coming at you is going to blow through that wall. So if you're diving for something and extending, you don't try to corral a shot with try to corral it and pin it, because you're going against the energy of your body and the energy of the ball coming at you. If you follow through, if you extend through the ball, you're changing the directory of the energy from the ball with the energy of your body. Now you're catching through it. That slows the ball down, and it actually helps you control the ball better, whether you catch it, whether you parry it, or whatever it is. Trying to corral something coming at you with pace while your body's moving and now trying to hold it, it doesn't make sense. And so, you'll bobble the ball. Yes, your feet will come, the rest of your body will come around, and that also goes back to, don't fight the flow of your body, like go with it. And I agree with you 100%. I totally disagree with Timmy. It does not take you don't have to be an amazing athlete to be a great goalkeeper. You have to be athletic. You have to have some athleticism, but goalkeeping has evolved so much that position is key. It's paramount. Understanding your limitations, understanding what you excel at. Timing is everything, especially with crosses. And so on. And so I totally agree with you, Marcus, on that. I've always trained for people to follow through on an extension dive or a save, never trying to hold the ball. It's the same thing as if you're going to pick up the ball. You have kids, they go and pick up a low ball and you ever see kids, they try to put a foot down and go back the opposite direction. And you're like, just pick up the ball and keep walking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just keep going with your body. If somebody's in the way, knock them over. But don't fight your energy. Don't fight your body and go through it.
Yeah,
Mike, I just want to say one thing. No, I think what Marcus was talking about too, like Aurelio Gomez, honestly, a legend. I mean, that guy can throw the ball 90 yards, has a little mouthpiece. I just to watch him all the time. But he, again, like you said about crossing, at a certain point, he's like 6'5". He's a huge guy. So you would think aesthetically, you would be like, okay, optics show that he's going to be good at crosses. And then you look at, again, I like to do cross sports stuff, but like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's the MVP for the NBA, and then you have LeBron James. Like those two guys are athletic machines, athletic freaks. And then people started realizing these guys can't shoot from outside. So we're just going to play the zone, force them outside, force them to shoot. And you could see in the playoffs, they crumbled for a long time. LeBron crumbled as well against the Mavericks back in the day. Then you had Giannis this past summer. So you guys see all that stuff. And then those guys go into the gym and put the work in. And it's no different than us young goalkeepers who will go out there and realize, okay, they're picking out certain things. Like for me, it was I'm not fast off my line. So just play the ball over the top and then force the keeper to make a decision. Half the time I was sprinting halfway, they chip me or they'd square it across and they score. Then after a while, I was like, well, that's Southscope says, I got to manipulate it so that it's not something that they can expose me at. So I think
what
that's
do we do? What do we
kids,
do to make that fixed for you? Your starting position has to be different, so you're still comfortable and you still can't get done over top. Your timing on the through ball has to be better, and everything. And that's not per se that you're an amazing. How many amazing athletes that I've had as goalkeepers that they don't get it. They don't. They rely on their athleticism to make like amazing saves, but at the end of the day, that's just a small part of goalkeeping.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's funny, Marcus, when we were just kind of, obviously we're discussing this right here. I love what you were just bringing back in regards to containment, just in regards to that, like if you extend far out, because it's, this is myself personally, but I always teach, and I'm not saying I know the right way, because I don't think there is a right way, but it's all about containment. It's about containing the ball and making a quality play on the ball, and I think there's just so much of because kids are so literal, when you say something like catch, they get limited into the regards to where they think they have to go to the ball and make a catch, as opposed to extend to contain that ball, because then the ball is going to come inside and then you can hold on to the ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I was taught the W when I was growing up, right? It's a simple thing like that. Well, guess what? You start coaching some little kids. Well, they can't catch the ball if they do a W because their hands aren't big enough. So a lot of the girls, so then they end up being kind of a modified so they can actually catch the ball. So you're like, okay, that's one way to do it. The only problem is you go, we do want to catch the W because we can extend our arms completely. So there's a way to do it, right? If the ball's in tight, I might do that with my elbows out, but our elbows need to be in, right? You think of proper technique, then I can be in the W all the way from in here to full extension, right? But you're right. There's so many different ways to do it when you look at, and that's just one aspect of the game, right? I'm having, now one of my goalies have played for a year and now they start playing games again, right? Where all they've been doing is just practicing, 5 days a week. And now my coaches are going, what's wrong with your goalies? They keep making stupid decisions. And I'm like, well, why? And he goes, well, we're asking him to play. And I go, the last one, I had a goalie, he's 35 yards from goal with a ball at his feet. And he ends up playing a ball straight to the forward. I'm like, why is he out that far? What is he doing? Like, your job is to stop shots, right? That's ultimately what your job is. And if you're making that easier for the other team to score, then you're doing something wrong. And, you need to make it hard for people to score. Now these teams are, and I grew up never playing the ball out of the back, ever. And then we got to England and I never played the ball out of the back. I did a little bit, but we weren't one of those teams who played, right? We launched everything. We made it difficult on the other team. I had Kevin Doyle. I'd push him as far forward as I can. He wouldn't necessarily win the first ball, but we win the second ball because we were nice and compact. Now when I watch, I see a goalie who's forced to play the ball out of the back, and then they've got their right back out who's 10 yards to his right, the left back who's out over there, or they might be up the field, and then the center backs are out like that. Well, then they end up kicking a ball from there because now they have nowhere to play. And now, but their right backs and left backs are up the field. Their center backs are on level with them. You're never going to win the second ball. So you're not making the field very small. And to win that second ball, you're not making compact. You're not able to kick to one side or the other to make the field small. And now we end up making a mistake, giving the ball away. Well, guess what? It's a goal. And now my coaches are losing their mind that my goalie gave the ball away. And you're going, you're forcing him to do that or her to do that. So if you want my goalies to kick the ball every time, I'll tell them to kick the ball long every time, not to lay it up short, if that's what you want. I have no problem with that. And if that's, and the coaches aren't giving some of my goalies the ability to play with confidence, one, because they feel they're going to get yelled at, and, they don't want to make a mistake, but that will happen. And what team was it in England? I'm trying to think.
Ask Omar. I'm sure he knows it.
Brendan Rodgers was coach. I don't know if it was Swansea or something like that. And Brendan Rodgers, he was at Reading, and I knew him fairly well. He was one of the youth team coaches at the time. But, they were like, we're going to play out of the back. I'm pretty sure it was Brendan Rodgers from Swansea. But we're going to play out of the back, right? Well, their goalie gives the ball away in the game, and they end up losing the game. And the reporter was asking the coach about that, and he goes, "Oh, what do you mean?" He goes, "That's not his fault." He goes, "I'm asking him to play the ball." Like, and he made a bad pass. Who cares? No big deal. He goes, "That's how we're playing." So I have to give him some slack. And now I got coaches got goalies who haven't played for a year, and they're not, and they give the ball away with their feet, and they're like losing their mind. And you're going, so which way do you want it, right? You need.
I love the fact that you just brought that up right there, because like this is actually a conversation that we've had, and in regards to just like how the style of play of like how you want to play and everything like that is like, I mean, it is really, really, really important. And Omar, I know this is something that like you have specifically said, is that, again, we were talking about being effective, right? Like if you're going to play a certain way, and by playing that certain way, you're not getting what you want out of the goalkeeper, then you have to adjust. You have to be willing to make adjustments, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think, again, we talk about, that synergy between the goalkeeping department and the first team coach. You got to make sure that they are aligned. Your philosophies essentially are aligned with who you're bringing in, what kind of the style of goalkeeper you're trying to bring in that fits the system. But also too, like, for example, we're talking about, Marcus was just saying, I was watching, I think a few months ago, Pep Guardiola, Ederson was playing the ball back and forth. Ederson plays the ball to somebody. He's like 25 yards off his line. They lose it and he gets chipped. And all the people are like, why is Ederson so high? And then Pep comes out and says, like Marcus was saying, no, like I want him to play there. It's not his fault. Like that's a bad collection from the defender, and he's doing his job. So again, that's when you know as a player as well that your coach has you in his corner, like he's going to support you. Then that gives you the utmost confidence to take those chances in those tight moments. So again, there needs to be that synergy. But I think again, for me, for example, I was listening to Peter Schmeichel, and they asked him on Sky Sports, like, what is it that makes a top goalkeeper? And he was saying that I think his first few weeks at Man U, they were doing rondos, and the coach was like, no, goalkeepers, go do your thing. And he said, no, like I'm going to be with the team and do the rondos. And after he was out there for a few minutes, they were like, damn, okay, this guy's actually legit with his feet. Goalkeepers need to be involved in this just so we can actually, get to see how their feet work. So we have more confidence. And then again, now you actually look back and with the team I'm working for, I don't want to say the team yet, but I asked Steve, I said, Steve, is it okay? I said, Steve,
I don't want to say the name of the team, but I asked Steve, and they were black and gold. And
but I asked, no. So I asked Steve, I said, Steve, our goalkeepers, they need to work with their feet. Do you mind in every session, if the guys, can they start with you guys and you guys do, 4v4 possession, and then you have them on the end or have them in certain areas? Because I just feel like sometimes they don't think one step ahead of, okay, this guy has the ball. Where do I create space? Where do I go? Where does my first touch go? Do I know where I'm going with this pass before I even receive it? They'd have never really been exposed to that. And one of the kids we have is played in Portsmouth for the last year. So in Portsmouth, he says, Omar, they've never told me to play out of the back. They actually got mad at me for doing that. So again, it's just like as goalkeepers nowadays, you have it hard because some systems you want to play a certain way, and so some systems are different. But if you can get that foundational piece of your good prep touch, your good vision, your good scanning, all those little things, you can adjust to any system.
Yeah, it's funny, Saskia. Obviously, you being at at the highest level of collegiate right now with UCLA and things, is that players that you bring in, you may not necessarily bring in players that have all the skill sets that you're looking for. Obviously, because you could inherit players if let's say you come into a new coaching staff or whatever. But a lot of the times, you may get players who do have the skill sets that you're looking for, but they've never been asked to do those things because the programs that they were coming from, the systems they were playing in, they were never asked to do that. And so now you have to almost reprogram them and make them go, no, the reason we brought you is because you can do this. But I want to tell you why. The why is so important. If you don't know why, then Marcus, like you're saying, is you're going to get caught in a situation where you're 35 yards up the field and you're going to end up clearing the ball anyway. And now you're out of position on the counter. So, if they were going to clear the ball anyway, why are they playing so high? They might as well play deep.
Yeah, I've had so many arguments with players and coaches and all sorts of stuff. But remember one in particular, they wanted us to play out of the back, and we were playing against Stoke, and Stoke, they don't have any players under 6 feet tall. So, us kicking the ball, and we were fairly successful because we just win the second ball. Well, then he's like, hey, we got to play out of the back. Well, now that gap is there, and I kept playing the ball short and having to make a one-on-one save or saving a shot within 15 seconds. So I'm like, came in the locker room and I'm like, well, look, I go, if I can get the ball and I can distribute it out quickly to the sides, right, out to one of the backs or the midfield, I'm going to play quickly. But if not, as soon as I make that decision to that, I'm going to kick the ball because it's not on, because they're setting in the trap, because they know what they're doing, right? They're just playing off 10 yards. And then, the reason why we don't want to play out of the back, because we might not have defenders who are capable of playing out of the back. So, well, next thing you know, we're going to force to play out of the back, and, we end up losing the game. So, all those things. And, Johan Cruyff, somebody asked him at one stage, they go, well, you said you didn't play your best 11. He goes, no, I never play the best 11. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, how can you not play the best 11? It's Champions League game. He goes, well, I need defenders and I need a goalie. Right. And, people don't like that, but I'm not a soccer player, right? I was a goalie, right? It's as far from a soccer player as you can get. Yes, I have to kick the ball, but I've only chopped one guy that I remember, and I didn't like it. I apologized to him because I made him look stupid, right? And that's not my intention. He just cut my only pass down, and it was gonna, I didn't want to hit it off him. And so I chopped him and then played it out. And then I go, hey, I'm really sorry about that. You just didn't give me any options. And I don't know. It's a funny world.
I mean, that's so interesting that you just say that, Marcus, because I've honestly never even thought about that before. And Saskia, do you think that like it kind of in the game kind of today, that a lot of these players almost kind of, I don't want to say that they want to show their bag of tricks too much, but they're more thinking about what can I get away with as opposed to what's going to be the most effective play in the moment?
Well, I think that, again, I'll go back to players being too literal. And I think that, obviously, with UCLA, we build out of the back, we're a possession-based team. We use our goalkeeper beyond. She's phenomenal with her feet and her distribution, quick, on point, but she's also not literal. She understands that, if they're 10 yards off and they're waiting to do it, because obviously they know what we do, then you're going to hit some long balls and you're going to take a touch and you're going to bypass lines. and you're going to manipulate that. And then as you do that, well, now their press is dropping off, and now you're opened up again to play the short ball. And again, it's a manipulation. It's not like, hey, we're playing the ball in the back, so no matter what, I'm passing the ball in the back. It doesn't work that way, and you're given the tools to think as a player, and to make those decisions and to understand what the game requires at that time. And I put it on them to make those decisions. Are you going to make the wrong decisions sometimes? Yes, but understand why not to pass the ball short, understand why to go long, when to go long, and make those decisions. Don't be so literal. Don't.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Omar.
I was just going to say, I wish all coaches were like you.
Thanks. Thanks. Oh, good. You're the first person not to call me a bitch. That's fine. I'm just kidding. I know. I'm always just really tough when we do like video analysis and stuff. And they're like, man, I never want to play for you. I'm like, oh my God.
I remember once Omar was bringing up video or whatever. And Omar's just like, he's like, honestly, Saskia, I'm just glad none of this tape is me. Because I wouldn't want to go through all that. But Omar, I think, one of the things I think that's becoming really important here that we're all kind of discussing, I think also comes into the coaching language, which is, I think, one of the reasons why, honestly, a lot of players, like ourselves, maybe I'm not going to throw myself into the mix of obviously Saskia or Marcus, but I could throw myself into Omar's mix of people that attempted to try to play after college, is that it's difficult to not work with elite goalkeepers a lot of the times, because our coaching language, we really have to simplify our coaching language. And a lot of times we don't recognize that what we're saying is going over the head. And is that something that you've kind of had to struggle with and kind of, develop a coaching language for the different levels? It's a little bit different, let's say right now. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I'm not too long ago, I trained a kid and I said something to him and he was like, I got it. And at the end of the session, we did like a debrief and I was like, so what did you learn today? He's like, I completely forgot. And I was just like, oh damn. Okay. So is that him, or is that the way I'm presenting the information? And is he an audible guy? Is he a visual guy? He didn't understand. So like you said, Mike, I think that those are you need to get those calluses and understand that not everybody understands the position the way that you do. Not everybody has been coached the way that you have. And at the end of the day, you need to, like I always say, the Twitter method, you need to give it in 140 characters or less. And if you can't, that means you just got to cut out the fat, and you got to make sure that what you're saying has substance, and all you need to say is it should be in that 140 characters. So for me, I've had to learn the hard way, but yeah, there are, kids who, even at the team that I'm playing at, I'll say it eventually, but where the place I'm coaching at, they're the guys who are higher level. And so I don't need to coach them as much, but they know their mistakes. So at that point, we already know that's the foundation. We already know that the mistake, but how do we fix and how do I create sessions that are going to continue to expose that so that we fine tune that? Then there is the kids who are like, well, I don't know what I did. And I'm like, okay, I'll tell you what you did. And now that I told you what you did, now I'll create sessions that'll help you fine tune that. So there's certain things that sometimes you can kind of skip over and gloss over because those kids already have an idea and they're students of the game themselves. So they already understand the position to a certain extent. And then there's kids who obviously played at Mike's level, and they don't really know that. They don't really know a lot of stuff about goalkeeping, so they need to be taught certain things. So I think that's, yeah.
I love it, Omar.
I think, look, bottom line is we all know goalkeepers get better with age, and they get better with age because they become better students of the game, and they start understanding, like I said, they're not so literal like little kids are. And you grow by making mistakes. And as coaches, we have to allow them to make those mistakes and then have a discussion with them on, why do you think you made the mistake? What do you think you could have done better? And, that's going to have to repeat itself over and over again. And then eventually, you get out to a session and somebody makes a mistake and you go up to say something, you're like, and they're like, look, I know I did this. Like they have the answer to the questions already. And, that's where you want to go with coaching. And so it's got to start off. It starts off remedial, and then, as they grow older and as they have more experience and as they make mistakes, they stop making as many mistakes and they start understanding.
But at a certain point, like Marcus, if you're working with your ECNL girls, versus a rec keepers, there's a certain demands or certain expectations that you have. And because of that, you're going to direct the language based on those demands, right?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I just kind of grunt and me goalie. I show you, and then, this was the what's really interesting about the girl is I'm never quite sure if they understand, because with the boys, you got 13, 14, 15-year-old boys, and even the 16-year-old boys, they get a lot of testosterone going through their body. They don't have no idea what's going on. They want to argue about everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, why would you do that? And then what's interesting, so I normally coach boys on a Monday and then girls on a Tuesday, but and if the girls have like high school games, then I'll get girls on, mixed in with the boys or whatever, is kind of normally how it works. And then sometimes I'll get the boys who will come to both sessions depending on their practice schedule as well. But when I'm working with the girls, I'm like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Do you guys understand? Like, do you guys get it? And they're looking at me like, yeah. I'm like, but you're not arguing.
But you're not, yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And I found when I was coaching, boys with club, and I had the girls are more of like, they're like kind of an open slate and a sponge in a sense, and they're going to listen. They're, a little more analytical. And I think that the boys are like, the testosterone's going and they're just like, yeah, but I still made the save, or yeah, but my dad told me that if I do this and that, or my old coach told me, or, they want to argue about everything. And you kind of bang your head against the wall a little bit. I'm like, all right, well, just keep doing that, and I'll keep picking the ball out of the back of the net if you keep doing that. And so eventually, maybe you're going to listen and you're going to stop arguing with me.
Yeah.
Marcus, it's so funny that you said that, because like, I'll be honest with you guys. I had this happen to me earlier in my coaching career when I first started working with women, and by women I mean girls. Okay. I don't want, you know what I mean? Like younger people under the age of 18, is that, I thought they hated me. I thought they literally hated me because I'd only worked with boys before that. And they were so quiet. I just thought they were giving me the silent treatment, and they were just like, oh, they don't like me. They don't want me here. And I started getting in my head, started second guessing everything I was doing, because I was thinking like, these goalkeepers don't respect me. They're not saying a word to me right now. They could care less about my session. Oh my God, this is I need to leave. I can't do this. Can't do this anymore. And then I spoke to somebody who'd worked in the women's game for a good amount of time with the girls game. And they said, no, you have to understand that everybody's wired differently, whether they're a boy, they're a girl, whatever. Some people just don't react viscerally. They don't give that, that audible energy out. It doesn't mean that they don't care for you, which basically means that I just don't know how to read body language. I don't know where I'm going with this other than
Mike, but I think Mike, that like I told you guys at Cal State LA, we had a goalkeeper, and good, quality goalkeeper. But after probably 4 or 5 months working with him, he was just like, Coach, I don't understand why you don't really give me, you never really get mad at me. You never really, get upset with me. And sometimes I've been coached that way. So I just feel like I know I'm doing certain things wrong, but you always keep like a very mellow tone. Like, can you get mad at me sometimes? Like, can you, get upset at me? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I'll give you the feedback, but I'm not going to fake something just because I need to, fill this assumption of this is what a goalkeeper needs. This is how I'm going to be. I'm going to stay true to me, and I will try to adjust the best way that I can, but know that that's not my coaching style. So as well as like players want certain things, us as coaches as well, like we have our own coaching style as well. And I know coaches who get upset and get, super pissed off, and they show their emotions, and that's okay. I'll do that every once in a while. But like the coach that I worked with at Cal State LA, he says, you need to keep that in your back pocket every now and again, because if you're always keep one tone, they're going to get used to that. And then they're going to completely, they're going to, I can't even say the word, but they're going to block you out. But for me, it's like, I know now that as long as you bring energy to the session and you show them that you care, and then there's going to be times where they're sluggish and lethargic because they had school or whatever. And I did that last year. And the guys that I was training, there was one guy who always saw me in a nice way. He was like, oh my God, deer in the headlights, guys. He couldn't serve a ball. He couldn't catch a ball. And after I was like, Eric, how to say his name, but I was like, Eric.
I don't want to say his name.
Eric probably listens to the show every day.
We'll call him Eric.
I said, look,
Eric's,
dude, hey,
Omar's
go get some
great at
water,
keeping
chill
secrets,
for a second. I know, but that's what I mean, though. It's just like there are certain people who like certain things done a certain way. And as coaches, if we can obviously try to adjust to them and give them what they need, that's great. But at the same time, for me at least, I don't like sacrificing who I am because I just feel uncomfortable because I don't know if I yell too much and they're going to be like, well, what the heck? That's not what I asked for. And I'm like, oh, God, okay, this is awkward.
Well, I'm not a yeller either. It's more of a discussion. And, you know, well, with the goalkeepers I'm working with now, obviously at the level, but it's still like, first of all, they know what they did wrong, and me screaming isn't going to change that. But us having a discussion during break about, all right, let's talk about this save, that save. Let's talk about this goal, whether it was in small sided or whatever, you know, let's break it down and then have the discussion. I yelled once at UCLA practice, once. I was so irritated when we were playing like a small side or something, and my goalkeepers kept making the same mistake, and I got and I yelled. I think the whole team about passed out. They all stopped. The whole team was like, and I was like, and coaches looked at me, and I was like, I yell. They're like, we just never heard you get mad and yell before. And I'm like, because it's not who I am, but I was just to my wit's end, and I just like kind of exploded. It was once, and that's how much I remember. Once.
One last, Marcus, I'm sorry, you guys. That's one last story. I just as quick as I can make it. I was training this young girl. She's really good, and she had a rough like start to the day. She was very sluggish, and it was a one-on-one session. Usually we do like group, and I yelled at her. I was like, you know, I'm coming out here. I'm wasting my time putting this session together. You and your dad are coming out here from an hour drive away. You know how disrespectful that is? I was yelling at her.
Oh no.
I come back to watch the film, and she did everything to the T perfect. I don't know what I was on that morning, but I just let it loose for no reason.
Maybe you were the one having the bad day.
I remember watching it. I was like, oh boy, I can't even send this to her and like show her as a reference to why I yelled. I can't even do that. I scrapped it. I think it's in the trash bin. It's deleted on my computer. I got to empty the trash pretty soon. But yeah,
do it now.
Yeah. Do it now.
Definitely do it now. Definitely get rid of Eric's sessions on. There's a good chance that there's actually there's probably some sort of like libel against you now from Eric, based on what you've said on the air.
I've called out a lot of these players, man. I feel really bad, but that's all love.
Well, Marcus, the best thing is that one day Omar pulled out the UCLA roster and was just asking Susky, was like, who were you referring to right now? Were you referring to
That's okay. I'm not telling you who I coach for. Like Omar's not. I'm like, just get it over with, Omar. Yeah, Omar, he did. And that was like, I'm very calculated in not bringing up. Well, now I can, whatever. It's like, yeah, I know, what I'm talking about, Lauren or something like that. But it's like, yeah, you threw Eric under the bus there.
Marcus, any Crossfire kids you want to throw under the bus right now?
Got about 12. I got 12.
No, I honestly have this question for you though, because the thing is that, obviously you've seen it at the highest of levels in regards to all different types of goalkeeper coaches, right? And I think one of the things that was difficult for me when I transitioned from player to coach was understanding that my emotional cadence had to change based on, again, the level I was coaching at and also who I was coaching to. Is that something that was difficult for you kind of when you started out?
No. So, well, first off, I am a yeller.
Okay.
If somebody doesn't do what I say, it's because they didn't hear me. So I yell louder. And then if they still don't do what I say, it's because they still didn't hear me. So then I swear and yell louder. That's my escalation, and that's really fast. So I am a yeller, but when you start coaching, right, it definitely changes. And it's one of those things that I would, even when I came home from, playing the Premier League, if we weren't playing national team games and I could run up to soccer camp, it was one of the things I really enjoyed. I always really enjoyed coaching and seeing kids kind of figure out and get it, right? Mm-hmm. And seeing the light bulb go off, and or now you don't see some of the kids every week, because of whatever, and all of a sudden you're going, wait a second, I've had you she's like, I got a girl, she's a sophomore now. And she's like, I want to play college soccer. And I go, I can tell. And she goes, why? And I go, because you could finally do a push-up. right? And it's like, it's not a big deal, right? But it is. If you can't do a push-up, like, do you actually even practice? Do you actually go home and go, look, we push this all the time? And it's, you know, we've got our goalies who are now hitting the ground and then having to get up. And if I can't do a push-up, you don't have to do 100 in a row, but you have to be able to at least do one good push-up. And, you know, when we miss the target, when we're shooting, we're doing push-ups. And it's, you know, 10 for the boys and 5, you know, all the time. Because I get my goalies who think they're forwards and they're trying to bend one in the top corner and keep missing the target. Well, I've got a goalie who's supposed to be working. And now I got these idiots who are just trying to score, which is just stupid. And they're missing the target the whole time. So I've got a goalie who just took 8 reps and actually only saved the ball twice, which, you know, the whole thing is about repetition, right? And how many times can I catch the ball in a session or attempt to catch the ball? How many saves can I make? How many dives can I get? And if people are just goofing off. So anyway, so that was a big, and I'm like, well, you can do a push-up now. And she's looking at me like, what? And I go, well, I know you're doing something extra. Right. She goes, started to do weights now. And I go, oh, do you have confidence now? She's like, yeah. And I go, awesome. Well, you actually have a chance now because I know you're the extra work that's required to do it. And it's not just the 4 days a week training, right? Which I think is a lot for some of these kids, you know, but it is what it is. That's the world we live in now with, you know, like the teams feel like they have to coach or they have to have more sessions per week because the parents are paying a lot of money. So we have to get our money's worth, right? Which is just stupid in the first place. But, you know, these kids feel like they have to go to practice and I don't get it. But anyway, it is kind of funny and being able to, you know, the hard part is being able to transition what you're saying for a 13-year-old girl to an 18-year-old boy. Right. Have that age and everybody is different. Right. And how you talk to them is different, but I mean, the girls are easy, I think. And, you know, I always tell all my kids, I go, look, my practices are optional. I don't call your coach and tell him you don't come to my practice. Right. That's not my doing stuff that's fun. This is, I think, an optional thing. If you want to come out and get better and have some banter with the other goalies, then this is why we're here. And, you know, if you're going to come here and ruin my session, don't come. And it took me a year talking to one of my boys, telling him, look, don't come to my session. And eventually I'm like, thank you for coming to my sessions, because he's actually pulled his finger out. And now he's one of our best goalies and he actually has a chance to do something where before it was just like, he fought me on everything. Just so frustrating. I like, Amanda goes, oh, how was practice today? She knew exactly when I came home, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, it was like playing for Ziggy. And so just an absolute nightmare. But those are the, you know, you have to deal with and how you can motivate people. And I didn't know, like nothing I said worked, right? And it was really frustrating. And I had to go down, I go, look, don't come to my practice until you want to be here. And now he's coming out and the coach is going, oh, did you see how I played? I'm like, yeah. Dude, I see him in practice every day. Like he's running sessions now. I'm like, Claudia, you got it. You know, where that would have never happened before, right? And so everything is kind of going, right? You know, I don't know if you think about all these different things and things we haven't talked about. One of the things we were talking about last week with the girls and the boys team is my goalies are getting bullied by their coaches or their players or different things, right? And super easy on a through ball over the top when, you know, you can see it from the sidelines and, you know, goalies are like, do I come? Do I not come? What do I do? And then I've got coaches on the sidelines and parents yelling keeper.
I hate that.
Oh, that's the worst.
It is.
I know Saskia, that literally her pet peeve. Like
I hate it. I hate it.
Well,
it's the dumbest thing anybody can do. And I'm like, what you've just done is yell somebody, whatever decision they made, whether it's right or wrong. Now you're yelling keeper. So your team's stopping, expecting the keeper to come. Maybe the keeper isn't coming. Maybe they made the mistake. Maybe they see something we don't see. I don't know. Right. Maybe they tripped. I don't know, but you can't do that. It's such a pet peeve for me. It's the same pet peeve as people calling off sides in the run of play and holding their hands up and stop running defense. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, just play and leave it up to the referee to call off sides and play through, play. And if the whistle blows, it blows. But if it doesn't, and all you guys are standing there with your hand up and somebody goes through and scores, well, just play. It's the same thing. It's like pet peeve, huge pet peeve.
Omar, I think, one thing that I remember we discussed this in regards to the fact that, remember when we had Tim Dittmer on a while back, and he talked about, how can you create a thinking goalkeeper, right? And like, what's the recipe that you want to make a thinking goalkeeper? If you are training goalkeepers to listen to the sidelines and hear direction, you're not going to create a thinking goalkeeper, right?
Yeah, I mean that, and I think that's where the coach that I work for, Cal State, like Chris, he was just like, Omar, if you yell at the goalkeepers and then you stop yelling, they're not going to know what to do. So it feeds into what you're saying. But also, too, what Tim was saying is that when he runs his sessions, he likes to have it where instead of it just being one coach and 4 goalkeepers, he likes to think of it as 5 goalkeeper coaches. So he gives them all the ability to speak to one another and to critique one another and give each other the voices. So I think now as well, when you get that voice in training, you feel confident knowing that what you're saying is actually like based off educational like thought versus something that you're hearing from someone and then trying to regurgitate and have your own voice in there. So I think that's when you have it. You started in training, you build the foundations of the confidence of their own voice. And then I think in the game, they're not going to have to worry about listening to anybody else because they feel so confident and assured that what they've been saying in training, because they've been given that platform, is just, and it is, it amounts to something.
Yeah. And, and Marcus, I mean, obviously, what Omar's referring to is not, it's about symbiotic relationship of the session, that everybody is part of the session. Like when you were talking about the kids, that think that they're there to score worldies, that's not being part of the session. You're there for your own, you're talking about your own self-service there, and you're not thinking about the good of the session. So how important is it, like for you and your sessions, to make sure that everyone's communicating and everyone's on that same wavelength, so that they're all going to get better that way?
Well, one thing, when we point out mistakes, and it was hard in the beginning when you're singling out at one of your 14-year-old girls, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, why are you telling me I made a mistake? And the reason why you're telling everybody in the group is because, well, one, everyone can learn from that.
Yeah.
So talk about how goalies get better with age. Well, they get better because they also make mistakes, and then you learn from those mistakes. Well, if you can learn from other people's mistakes, you can be a better goalie a lot quicker. So us talking about why things have happened, why we do those things. And, I had a girl who's, 5 foot nothing, maybe even less than that. And, and she wants to play really high. And I'm like, So I start shooting and I keep scoring on her, and I go, well, why don't you stay back on one and see what happens? Mm-hmm. And she saves it. And I go, And then she did it again. And now, like, your target for your goal is so much smaller because now she's in a good position. It's harder to score. So you end up trying to hit one in the corner. And then she dives, she goes past the post. And I'm like, So wait a second. So the 2 you're back, one you saved, the other one you didn't save, but I missed the target because you made me shoot wide. Mm-hmm. And I go, and the other one went in 2 yards inside the post over your head because you want to come out. And I go, so what's better?
Exactly.
And, and the other girls are like, oh, okay. And I go, and then you have to go to the other girl. Well, this doesn't pertain to you because you're 6'2", right? So it's different, right? But everybody is different. And there's a different way to do it. But being able to learn from those mistakes is massive for these kids. And one, they know then that, hey, making a mistake isn't the end of the world, right? We're not trying to get rid of them. We're trying to make everybody better, right? Yeah. And as a collective, get better.
Yeah. No, absolutely. By the way, Marcus, real quickly in the comment section right here, Stan Anderson, who runs Camp Shutout in Wisconsin, says, I met Marcus years/decades ago in Illinois when the Rapids played the Stingers in an Open Cup game. I was not coaching, but we met before the game in a pub. Class dude, small goalkeeper world. So, yeah. And so I just wanted to share that because Stan's the man. He's got a good heart, and he's one of the good guys in the goalkeeping union. So,
well, that's awesome. We had going through all those old boxes. I found some really funny memorabilia. I got a Marcelo Balboa figurine, which is pretty awesome. He's got his goatee and his long hair. And then we have a poster where we went to the wave park, and so we're all sitting in a. I'm sitting in one of the inner tubes, and like our whole team's in there. And I saw that, and I sent that to Marcelo as well. And he goes, yeah, could you see, I didn't want to be there. I'm standing on the side. And I'm like, dude, we got free sunglasses. I was 100% in. I'm like, what do I have to do for free sunglasses? This is great. But it's so funny when you look at all that stuff now, the back in the 90s, that's scary.
Oh man, we've had these discussions. I mean, and I love the fact that you brought up the free sunglasses type of thing, because Saskia always used to bring up the fact that back in the day, the per diem, you're like, sweet, I'm keeping this.
I just happy to get a t-shirt.
Things have changed. Things have changed a little bit as Omar sits down for his press conference right here to announce his official judge.
Oh my God. Well, when he's going to announce it, because the next time we get on, it's just going to be a giant backdrop of it. Like, I don't understand.
One day.
I don't understand what the delay is.
Oh man, you know what? I'm not gonna get into it. By the way, it's funny, Marcus, that you're talking about the '90s and everything like that. And was Marcelo at that training session, Saskia, when you made the famous Landon Donovan save? The one.
You mean the one when I tried to get out of the way and he hit me with it?
Yeah.
Was he? He might have been. He might have been.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah,
I know Ernie Stewart was there. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it was a while ago.
I wish that was on tape. Really wish of it.
It was a great save. We'll just leave it at that. It was a great save. I meant to do it.
Marcus, do you have any of those at national team camp?
I have lots of stuff that just hits me in the face. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Brad and them are like, great save. I'm like, I was trying to dive out of the way. Okay.
Oh man. Well, Marcus, as we start wrapping up here, and first off, thanks for taking all the time, man. I know you're really busy with all the outside stuff that you're doing outside of the game as well too. Do you want to share any of that stuff for our audience, by the way? Because I think there's some people that might be kind of interested in what you got going on in that world.
Well, sure. This is my bar that I've opened up.
I was wondering what was going on behind you.
So this
Nice.
It's the Cleellum Back Nine. So it's an indoor golf bar. And so I'm just building it out. So we have, I'll walk you around real quick.
Oh, this is sick.
Yeah, so I've got a Bout Golf 17-foot simulator. And we were just trying to figure out what we were going to do with the space. And when COVID happened, my buddy who was running a bar in here, he was running a tasting room. And so it was, a full-on bar. And, COVID happened and he shut down, and we're like, oh, you know what we could do is we could just do it like one of those indoor golf things and do memberships. So we have like 18 members now. We just kind of opened. We're charging like $250 a month for membership, and you can come in, hang out. There's no food or drink, because that's a pain in the butt, and I don't want to have to be here all the time. So you just bring your own food and drinks in and come hang out. And people use it as a bar, and they'll bring their friends in, and people come in town and use it as a for work. They'll come in, they'll bring clients in, different things like that.
So it's BYOB?
Yeah.
Well, that saves you a liquor license, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, which as soon as you have a liquor license, which is one part, they're going to shut you down because of COVID, right? Well,
right.
It's all private. We've got key card access at the back door, because my friends are running a business in the front, Base Camp Outfitters, and so as we come in the back, your key card works all the time, and we have online scheduling where we can social distance. You could bring your group of friends in, and it was pretty safe way to go about this. And
that's cool.
That's awesome.
I built tables today. I don't know if you can see those.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we got so I burned our logo into the tables.
Aren't you handy?
Man.
Yeah.
God, man. Everybody's so talented. Everybody is so friggin'
I can't even
talented.
figure out how to get this mic working. I don't know what the hell.
I know. I'm coming over to Susquehanna tomorrow. I'm gonna going over to Susquehanna tomorrow to help her out with the technology element. Well, awesome, guys. Remember, contact at insidethe18media.com. That's the number 18media.com. If you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. If you want to reach out to Omar Zini, you can reach out to him at Omar at no, I'm not going to say the name of the team.
I was about to say, I'm like,
Pro GK Academy _ Saskia Weber at Saskia _ Weber, myself at Michael Majid. Marcus, what's the best social media for you?
Yeah, I do have that.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
That's dope.
nice.
Those are the
Wow.
couple of cool things I have. I don't have a lot.
That's cool.
And then I was in here and I've got this man of the match champagne for Manchester United, and somebody came in and they saw this, which is a commemorative beer from the wedding, the royal wedding.
Whoa, look at that.
When I was playing in Reading, and they were blown away by that. And I'm like, did you not see the man of the match from? She's like, oh my God. Did you meet them? And I go, yeah, we met them at the pub. They were down there. And they're like, no way. I go, did you see the man of the match thing?
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's
man.
just the tiny little things. That's the only alcohol we have in the bar. If the
Well,
liquor board is answering or asking.
well, that's awesome, man. And I think
Yeah.
at Hahnemann 1 is the best social media for you, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get it back into my Twitter account. I don't know what happened to that, but Hahnemann 1 is at on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, awesome, guys. Marcus, honestly, thanks for taking all the time. That's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.
Yeah!